Ladies and gentlemen, the following segment of the podcast is presented exclusively by the Heritage Foundation. For 52 years, Heritage has fought tirelessly for America's founding principles and advancing conservative public policies. Much more than a think tank, Heritage is a conservative policy powerhouse, fighting for the everyday American to advance common sense policies and dismantle the D.C. bureaucracy. Our founding fathers gave us an extraordinary system of government, and the Heritage Foundation is dedicated to defending the heritage and carrying on their legacy for future generations. So get involved by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda by visiting heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Live from about 7 feet above sea level, a few miles from Mar-a-Lago, Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin. We have comprehensive coverage of the most consequential 100 days since World War II. President Trump's 100th day, the celebration, the rally, it's on in Warren, Michigan. We take you there now live.
We actually won it 3 times. You want to really know that. But I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state. I love this state. Got a lot of auto jobs coming. Watch what's happening. The companies are coming in by the tens. You got to see what's happening. They all want to come back to Michigan and build cars again. You know why? Because of our tax and tariff policy. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming up and they're opening up plants and they're talking to us all day and all night. They want to get here and they're coming in at levels you've never seen before. And I want to thank the auto workers for your support. That was great. But I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country. And that's according to many, many people. This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. And week by week, we're ending illegal immigration. We're taking back our jobs and protecting our great American auto workers and all of our workers, frankly. We're protecting all of our workers. We're restoring the rule of law, which was sort of out the window with this crazy guy we had. How the hell did that guy ever become president? Could somebody explain to me? How the hell did that happen? There's my friend, Blacks for Trump. I like that guy. He follows me. We love you. Your whole group has been so supportive over the years. I want to thank you. Everyone thinks I pay you a fortune. I don't know. I don't even know who the hell he is. I just like him. True. Thank you very much. Thank all of the fellas. Thank them all. But we're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country, getting woke lunacy and transgender insanity the hell out of our government. We're stopping the indoctrination of our children, slashing billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And above all, we're saving the American dream. We're making America great again, and it's happening fast, too. What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is, really. We're conservative. You're conservative, you're liberal, whatever the hell. You know what it's all about? It's about common sense when you think about it. We're for common sense. We like strong borders. We like good education. We like low interest rates. We like being able to buy a beautiful car. And now deduct the interest on the loan. That's never happened before. We want a strong military. We want low taxes. You know, the Democrats, they campaign on, we will raise your taxes. It's the first time. You know, I haven't been doing this that long, actually, compared to a lot of people. They've been doing it for a long time. They say, you became president. I can't get out of Congress, or some of them can't even get into Congress. But, you know, I haven't been doing it that long, but all my life I've been watching. And I've never heard people campaigning that they're going to raise taxes. It's always been, we will reduce your taxes, Democrat, Republican. Now they go, we're going to raise your taxes. If our bill doesn't pass, the Republicans, we have 100% just about Republican support, but it would be nice if we had just a couple of Democrats just to make sure, because, you know, every once in a while you have a grandstander Republican. We have some grandstanders, but every once in a while, not many. But remember who those grandstanders were and vote them the hell out of office, okay? Will you do that? Vote them out of office. You know, they do it they're morally bound. You know what the answer is? If you don't get it, you're going to have the highest tax increase in history instead of the greatest tax cut in history. If the Democrats prevail on this bill, you get a 58% tax increase. Would you like that? These are the Democrats. But I've never seen all the years they campaign, we will raise your taxes. I say, this country has gone crazy. And today they did it again. Some guy that I'd never heard of. John James, is he a congressman, this guy? He said, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start the impeachment of Donald Trump. What the hell did I do? Here we go again. They want to impeach me. This lunatic, he was up. Actually, I had the television way down, and I said to our great First Lady, listen, did I just hear I was being impeached again? We're getting good at this, though. No, they've gone totally crazy. These people, and you know what? They've totally lost their confidence, too. They can't even tell a lunatic like this dumb guy that said it. And then you have the other one that's always with the cane. He's always impeaching. He raises his cane. He always impeaches. But they have no control over those people. They have no control. And the reason is they've lost their confidence. They have no confidence anymore as a party. They have no candidates. And, you know, when they say that Bernie's probably the best they have. By the way, he's about 7 years older than me, more. 8 years older. One thing I got to give him credit, he's a lunatic, but he's still pretty sharp. And he's going around with AOC +3. You know, the +3 follow him. They hang on for little bits. They hang on for nuggets. And they get crowds. They say, our crowds are so much bigger than their crowds. Their crowds are small. If I ever had a crowd like their biggest crowd, they'd say it's over for Trump. He's lost the magic. But this is great, and all the people outside, we love you. We put screens up. We're taking back our country from a sick political class that got rich selling America out and bleeding America dry. We don't let that happen anymore. And we had 4 great years. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. The stock market went up 88%. We did great. And we're going to do better now, because now we learned a little bit. After years of leaders who sent your money to defend the borders of distant foreign nations, that's what we did. We'd fight for other nations, but not for ourselves. You finally have a president who is defending our borders and our nation. Dr. Oz. After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first. After a lifetime of unelected bureaucrats stealing your paychecks, attacking your values, and trampling your freedoms, we are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip, and telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here. In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change in Washington in nearly 100 years. I read an editorial today that this is the most consequential presidency in history. How about that? And it wasn't even by a group that would normally be supporting us. It was a group of people that I think they tend to be on the liberal side, but they said it's the most important election. The November 5th that changed it all. You have to see, when you hear some of these numbers, but that is the most consequential election that we've ever had in our country. And what a nice thing. I'm going to start again subscribing to that particular paper. Even if I don't read it much, I'm going to subscribe. But it was a very nice compliment, especially from them. They know who I'm talking about. We're ushering out the long reign of special interests and the radical left lunatics, and we're ushering in the golden age of America. That's what we have. Right? Front row Joe. Look at you, front row Joes. I miss you guys. I miss the campaign. You haven't changed. You've lost a couple of pounds. Oh, he's probably getting to one of those jabbers. You've lost a couple of pounds. You look good. And I have Mr. Wall here. This guy. How many rallies have you gone to? Like hundreds, and we love him here. The Wall. One day I'm going to get that suit and I'm going to wear it on stage. We appreciate it, fellas. Great. Thank you. You know, we have a group of ladies. I don't know if they're here, but we have a group of women from North Carolina, a large group, like 50 of the most beautiful women, and they've been to 129 rallies. They're happily married, I think, too. They just keep going to rallies all the time. But they're great. North Carolina, where we won by big numbers. Nowhere has this transformation been more dramatic than our southern border. You have seen a change on your southern border that Sleepy Joe said couldn't happen. Sleepy Joe, the worst president in history, said it couldn't happen. The last administration engineered a massive border invasion, allowing gangs, cartels, and terrorists to infiltrate our communities and rape and murder our citizens. And that is being nice about it. That's actually being nice about it. They are the worst. But standing before you today, I can proudly report that this heinous betrayal is over and that we have achieved the most secure border in American history by far. In American history. For 2 months in a row, we have now set all-time records, and this is by the media, the fake news media, which most of it is fake. We've set all-time records for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. Think of that, ever recorded. The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down, listen to this please, 99.999%. Think of that, 99.999. 3 people got in. 3. And I got angry as hell at Tom Homan. How did you allow 3, Tom? I called up Christy. Christy Noem's doing a great job, Tom Homan. I said, how did you allow 3 people? No, they allowed a few in for medical reasons. They had a couple of, were very sick. The ones that got in were really very sick, and we had to take care of them, but it was a few people. But 3 people got in versus hundreds of thousands in the last administration. Hundreds of thousands a month were pouring in. Biden had no control. Thank goodness he appointed a great border czar, right? Kamala. She was a great candidate. She was fantastic. Joe Biden was down 35 points. The debate was not a good one for him. He said, you know, if I didn't debate, I could have gone all the way. He was down 35 points, and they decided to replace him. Nothing ever happens like what happens to me. It never happens to anybody else. I had to beat 2 candidates, so he's down. This is like you're in a fight. Dana White, the UFC, you're in a fight, and you're just beating the guy so badly, and they say, oh, let's put in another fighter. That's what happened. And I knew nothing about her. She was vice president, but nobody knew a damn thing about her. She had nothing to do with the border, even though she was appointed border czar. The great people, all of the great people, Paul and all of the border patrol people, they never spoke to her. They never heard about her. For 4 years, she never called. But there's never been such a difference in anything as the difference between the border today and the border what it was just 6 months ago. So I want to say congratulations, America. It's about time. If we had not won the 2024 election, oh, does that sound good, right? We won the 24, all that work.
All right, so the rally is on the most consequential 100 days since World War II. The rally from Warren, Michigan with President Trump. Quick break. We'll be right back. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our founding fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
And it is a big part of the reason why the president is rallying in Warren, Michigan. The first rally of the second term of President Trump as the celebration over his 100th day is on. And it is the most consequential 100 days since World War II. Coming up, going to break down exactly what it looks like, because we really have never seen anything like this, not in our lifetimes. It is a historic pace. It's not just your imagination. Now, a lot of people in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to Liberation Day, which the president was talking about, the tariffs and everything else, you know, there's so much noise there. So much has been accomplished in such a short period of time. But even for the things that make people nervous, have you paid any more for a tariff yet? No, you haven't. Nobody actually has yet. It's all expectation. Oh, I'm gonna be nailed with the shelves are gonna be empty. The things are gonna cost. Things don't cost. Do you know how much more a gallon of gas was a year ago today? It was 52 cents a gallon. You know what the inflation rate was the day that Donald Trump became president of the United States? It was 3%. You know what it is today? It's 2.4%. Everything that even is negative out there is fear. Two sides of stories, one side of facts. We're going to break down the facts about everything that Trump has accomplished in just 100 days. That is coming up next. Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
Folks, I need to talk to you about something crucial to the future of America. Our friends at the Heritage Foundation are on the front lines fighting for our conservative values. Heritage is dedicated to promoting policies that will help bolster our economy, protect our borders, and uphold the rule of law. They're working tirelessly to defend our Constitution and the principles that make America exceptional. To help accomplish this, they need you to complete their national survey on President Trump's agenda today. So you can participate in this survey by going to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Your responses are crucial to this survey, and they'll provide Heritage leadership with crucial feedback as they work closely with the folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. By completing this very important survey today, you're standing up for the values that have made this country great. And my friends at Heritage need you to act now to maximize their impact on President Trump's first 100 days. So please don't wait. Our future depends on you. Together, we can make a difference, and future generations inherit a nation that is free, prosperous, and strong. So please, right now, visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, complete your survey, and join the fight for America's future. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, radio's hell-raising intellectual. Call now, 877-381-3811.
We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never going to let that happen. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. Apple is coming in for $500 billion alone. We have other companies coming in with massive numbers. Inflation is way down, and it's based on what we've done, and we've done it in a very short period of time.
Air Force One is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America.
People in our country illegally can self-deport the easy way, or they can get deported the hard way, and that's not pleasant.
We're alive and free people because of you. Thank you very much.
I mean, I've saved a lot of people, but I've never seen anything like this where you lived under those conditions.
We also want to thank President Trump for the promises he made to us. He said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Levin.
She's moving education back to the states, and she's doing it at a rapid rate. Pretty good, huh? Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right?
You know, it's been a heck of 100 days. The party is on. The rally is on in Warren, Michigan. It does say golden age behind the president. And in many ways, what we've seen is a historic pace towards that intended golden age. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin, and I want to break down the most consequential 100 days since World War II, because there's so much here. And I was actually having this philosophical conversation because in many ways, we couldn't wait to get from Biden to Trump, but in other ways, kind of feels like it's been more than 100 days. And some of that is simply because he was president before, I think. But so much of that, I think, has to do with just how much he has gotten done, even compared to himself previously. So we take a look at Trump and what's happening here. It is a historic pace to restore security. It is a historic pace to restore the economy. And for everybody who's nervous about that, I got a lot for you in tonight's show, because everything that makes you nervous about the economy is just that. It's nerves. None of it has been a substantive impact on you or anybody else yet. Peace. There's been a historic pace towards peace. Could it be a critical week for a lot of that? And most of all, there's no doubt that Trump has been working his butt off to restore sanity to our country, starting with our southern border. And nowhere have we had more incredible success than with border and immigration policy. But all this has been on full display during his first 100 days. I mean, some of it's just scorekeeping. And if you're taking a look at things by the numbers, The man has not had a single day that's gone to waste. Not even like on a Sunday when he's on a golf course has that thing gone to waste. He's been working every single day. President Trump has signed 142 executive orders during his first 100 days. He signed 42 presidential memorandums. President Trump has issued 40 presidential proclamations, and he signed 5 bills into law. That's what Trump has done over the past 100 days. What have you been doing? You know? You're like Trump. I've been busy. What have you been up to? You know, a lot of times people talk about this Trump administration being like Trump 2.0. But in reality, what we have witnessed since he took office once again is Trump 3.0. And I say that because quite literally, the speed with which he has been working since January 20th is 3 times faster than he did during the first 100 days of his first term. No kidding. To put this in perspective, President Trump has taken almost as much executive action as President Biden did during the entirety of his administration. No kidding. And by the way, in Trump's first 100 days, he's actually taken more executive action than was taken during the entire second term of both of the most recent 2-term presidents, Obama and Bush. He's already done more in 100 days than those 2 presidents did in their final 4 years. It really is a remarkable thing. You know that Trump spent those 4 years out of the presidency when he wasn't stuck in the courtroom with lawfare, working on everything that he's been putting into place in the first 100 days. The fact of the matter is, you have to go back to Harry Truman, who inherited the presidency during the midst of World War II, to find a president who acted as fast, who moved the needle as much as President Trump has done to start an administration. There's been no president post-World War II who's even come close. But of course, it's not just about action. It's not just, I've signed a bunch of orders. I've said a bunch of things. No, it's about results. It's absolutely about results. According to the latest from ICE, the level of activity through the administration's first 100 days looks like this. What do you think ICE arrests of illegal immigrants look like compared to the Biden administration? I want you to get a number in mind. ICE arrests of illegal immigrants are up how much over the Biden administration? 621%. 620, greater than 6 times. Okay, that's the jumping off point here. There's so much more to this. In fact, under President Trump, ICE had to take nearly as many illegal immigrants within the first 50 days as they did during the entire prior year. That includes a 120% increase in ICE detentions of criminal illegal immigrants and a 222% increase in the arrest of terrorist gang members. So bottom line is this. Okay, so just in this first little piece here, there is absolutely no doubt that our streets, that your community is a heck of a lot safer today than it was 100 days ago. There's no doubt about this. But of course, it's not just that so many illegal immigrants are being arrested. So many are being detained for deportation by ICE. Of course, maybe the biggest thing of all is that they're also not pouring into the country. They're not coming into the country really at all anymore. Because even the low Biden administration arrest and deportation numbers, and a bit more on the deportation stuff a little bit later, the Biden deportation numbers were largely inflated because if they turned somebody back at the border, which didn't happen, just about everybody at the border would get through. But if they ever did turn somebody back, they called that a deportation. It's how they jacked up their numbers. Made it look like they're doing something. So anyway, even with the super low jacked up deportation numbers, arrest numbers, you still had vast numbers more people that were obviously entering the country illegally than were ever made to leave it. Not anymore. Literally, well, let me take another trivia question moment for you. How many illegal immigrants have been allowed entrance into this country by Border Patrol? I know, you know, the whole catch and release and that whole thing. The people that saunter up to a Border Patrol agent and go, hey, essay, this where I say asylum. And, you know, they're wearing their, like, Biden let me in shirt. And, under Biden, the Border Patrol agents were made to say, oh, yeah, you said the magic A word, so we'll roll out the red carpet for. Would you like a 5-star hotel in Manhattan? How's that sound? We can accommodate you that way. Or if you'd rather accommodations in another place, another state, we can do that too. I mean, we're here for you, after all, the illegal immigrant. Screw the American taxpayer. It's paying for you. So anyway, we went from that type of stance to literally only nine illegal immigrants, only 9 border crossers in Trump's first 100 days have been allowed entrance by Border Patrol. And the Remain in Mexico policy, that is what has resulted in Border Patrol now taking a look at all of these people. And there aren't many that try to get through anymore. They take a look at them and say, yeah, this ain't the same country anymore, Jack. You see that sand over there? You and your butt can hang out in Tijuana for about, I don't know, here's your piece of paper. You want to say the A word? Maybe about 7 years, because that's how backed up our courts are. Enjoy Tijuana. That's the kind of conversation that happens now. And the so-called gotaways, they don't get away anymore. Any border-related illegal immigration statistic that you're going to see, you'll find declines in attempted and illegal activity that have dropped by 95 to over 99% with what you had with Biden's open border policies. And all of this is also independent of illegal immigrants who are self-deporting, which has also become a thing. And now is even something, I mean, one of my favorite things that the administration did with illegal immigration in the first 100 days, that whole jacked up Biden administration app, that CBP1 app, where we literally, I mean, the way they tried to control the optics after a while, hey, rather than having all these people cross at the southern border, we'll just go ahead and let them do this over the app, and then they can just fly straight into our country over the border. That was the scam they were running to let about the last million illegal immigrations into this country. But yeah, the Trump administration not only shut that thing down, then they said, hold on. We've got all these people and their information in here. Let's turn this thing back around. Let's tell them that they have a deportation order, that they are now to self-deport from the United States. And we're going to use this app to process the people that are going to self-deport. That's been a cool little thing they've done with that app. Turnabout. Not just fair play. It's the right thing to do. But anyway, that's just some of the stuff at the border. You talk about the economy, factoring in seasonality. A gallon of gas, I mentioned this just a bit ago, gallon of gas, 52 cents cheaper today than a year ago today. The overall inflation rate, it was 3% the day that Trump took off. It's 2.4% now. People want to talk about tariffs, inflation, all these fears. That's all it is at this point, is fear, because the brass tacks reality of the situation is that life is cheaper today than the day that Donald Trump became president of the United States. So that's just a bunch of fear that people have put in play to try to make it kick in. And then you take a look at DOGE and what DOGE has done for you. DOGE has already saved you, the average federal taxpayer, $993.79. Yeah, I mean, but that Musk, that big, awful Elon Musk, I want to give my $1,000 to that asylum-seeking Biden T-shirt wearing person crossing the border, right? I mean, please. And so, yeah, you do have concerns about the tariffs. But then you start getting into it, and you can consider this. Prior to President Trump's second term, how many countries, how many territories imposed tariffs against U.S. goods? Just about all of them. You know, you got 195 countries around the world. You know, 197 countries / territories actually had tariffs against us. So, yeah. You know, the last time we had free trade, sometime before World War II. We've been screwed by trade in certain ways ever since. And here's another trivia question for you. We have the largest economy in the world, right? We are the most important trade partner with any other country in the world, right? And yet, how many countries do we operate a trade surplus with? Remember, you got 195. The answer is 5. 5. That's it. So when Trump talks about bad deals and, you know what, we need to do better with these trade, that's what he's talking about. Our scorecard is 5 to 190. There are a lot of things we can do better with trade. There are a lot of things that Trump has accomplished already on trade, including some deals that are in the works. We're just getting warmed up here as we break down the most consequential 100 days since World War II. I'm Brian Mudd, in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our founding fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Yeah, funny how that worked out, right? That the president from his joint session of Congress, his speech, and what he's done is deliver like no president we have seen in our lifetimes during his first 100 days. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin. By the way, you can catch me socially at Brian Mudd Radio, host of The Brian Mudd Show. You can check out The Brian Mudd Show podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and sure would appreciate that. And always an honor and a pleasure to be right here with you for the great one who is in the Holy Land, and look forward to hearing everything that he has to come back with. In the meantime, as we take a look at the president's first 100 days, talked about how he has literally worked at 3 times the pace that he did during his first term as president. So it's not just your imagination. It's not just, hey, looks like he's doing a lot of stuff. He is keeping a truly historic pace. We've gone through a lot of the receipts, a lot of things that are better, including on the economy. You know, the one thing that makes most people the most nervous right now, the economy. But when you take a look at what's actually changed, it's all been positive. Inflation is much lower than it was when he was president. In fact, inflation rate right now is the lowest it's been since 2 months removed from when he was last president. Last time inflation was this low was March of 2021. Yeah, but the tariffs and you have the godless, soulless, and slanderous news media that tries to scare you on some of that stuff. And yeah, as Trump has said, some of this is not necessarily going to be easy because to get good trade deals, to do the right thing by you, sometimes you have to, play hardball. And then that could end up having a few things that are a little uncomfortable for a short period of time. But we haven't even gotten there yet. There's no need to get upset. There's no need to be concerned. You can trust the process. Continue breaking down what the president has done during his first 100 days and how much safer we are, too. Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
My goal and my mission is to build trust. We will undertake a large job and a large duty that we have to fulfill that the American people expect us to do by securing our border, to make sure that our nation is a nation with borders or we're no nation at all, and that we are making sure that those criminal actors that are perpetuating violence in our communities and in our cities and towns and states are removed from this country, that there's consequences for breaking the law in our country again.
Yeah, there's somebody who has been kicking butt and taking names, quite literally. Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Secretary. And here's the thing. As we celebrate Trump's first 100 days, as the rally, the party has been on in Warren, Michigan, as we're going through the receipts, Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin. We have so much, when you take a look around the Trump administration, to take in. If you think back to the president's first term, by now, we knew that there were some people around him that were problems, right? We knew certain people weren't up to the job. You had questions about other folks. Not anymore. I mean, Trump's cabinet, they have been nailing it. They're all hitting home runs. Noem's work on the border, phenomenal. And as we take a look at the success, nowhere have we seen greater than success than with the border, with illegal immigration policy. This country is so much safer after 100 days. I don't even think most Trump supporters fully appreciate the extent to which this country is a safer place in just 100 days. Let me walk you through just a little bit of this. I was breaking down last hour, just kind of a top to bottom thing and a lot of the success. And I gave you some numbers. I mean, there are some really remarkable numbers, a greater than 6-fold increase in ICE arrests over the Biden administration, that you had more detentions by ICE during the first 50 days of the Trump administration than the entire last year under the Biden administration. The taking down of terrorist gang members in record numbers. Which, by the way, got a note from my wife. She said, I wonder how all this is impacting the illegal drug trade. And just tell you this, it is a really bad day for the bad hombres. It is not working out well. Not working out well for those folks. In fact, there's actually an illegal immigrant that was hanging out in a tree a little while ago trying to avoid authorities. I mean, that's what they're now doing, is like clinging to trees, the bad hombres. But when you take a look at every aspect of what the Trump administration has been doing, it's been success to significance. And even with the economic policy, again, that I was talking about, because one of the things that has just been annoying me to this point is where Trump is getting his lowest marks is on the economy. And you do have even a lot of conservatives are kind of nervous, like, well, I'm with Trump, but I mean, you saw what happened to the stock market and the terrorists making me nervous. Okay, what has actually happened? The cost for stuff for you to this point, it's been less. Everything that you hear is just fear. How often is the godless souls and slanderous news media right about this stuff? And yeah, there could be some things that end up being a little uncomfortable, but we're not even there yet. And in the meantime, hey, enjoy the lower inflation rate. Enjoy much cheaper gas prices. How about it? Among other things. By the way, also, success with the economy, something that is an untold success story of the Trump administration so far, just how much has changed culturally. Have you noticed that you can actually watch an ad without it being a, I don't know, transgendered, multiracial type of situation? You notice that? There are actually heterosexual white people that are still in this country buying that. You never know that by ads about a year ago or 2 years ago. You certainly wouldn't know that when you walked into a Target store and took a look at what they're trying to sell you to put on your body. But did you know that, for example, since Trump has come back into power, 60% of corporate America has dropped their DEI policies? 60%. Including many that have publicly gone on the record that want to be known as having dropped their DEI policies, including Amazon, AT&T, Bank of America, BlackRock, which is huge because they have tentacles in just about everything and have so much influence over so many companies. Boeing, Citigroup, Ford, GM, Goldman Sachs, the ever woke Google dropped their DEI stuff. McDonald's, I mentioned Target, and they're, 2 years ago at this time, we're talking about tuck bathing suits, right? They dropped their DEI crap. Walmart. So even the impact just culturally has been huge here. But yeah, nowhere have we seen more success than with making this country a safer place every single day. There are two sides to stories and one side of facts. And this is an ironclad fact. Every day that Donald Trump is president of the United States, this country is a safer place. I used to say every day that Joe Biden was president of the United States, this country was a less safe place. That was absolutely true. Take a look at how many criminal illegal immigrants were allowed into this country by that jackass. But Trump, every single day that man is president, you can hate him. You can have TDS from here to there. Every day he is president, you are safer. Even a woke liberal. So yeah, as you take a look at the historic pace, I do think that even the success with the border that is known is undersold. And he's talked about some of this in the rally. You take a look at how many fewer aliens are attempting to enter the United States. How many fewer people even trying to get here? The answer has been 95% fewer people. You think the message has gotten out around the world? In fact, what's interesting is right away people knew, and it's only become more so with time. If you take a look at the end of January, so from January 20th to the end of the month, immediately you saw even the attempts. Day one policies, Trump put remain in Mexico back in place and everything else. But people knew Trump meant business. Day one until the end of January, attempts to get into this country, down 93%. By February, that grew to 94%. And then by March, 95%. Obviously, April's numbers aren't finalized. It looks like it's going to be maybe 96. The word is out. The word is out. And so those are the folks that are just trying to get here. The folks that are coming up to the southern border with their one-time Biden shirts, let me in shirts, where now I think they have it scratched out and we'll put Trump let me in. They walk up and say, essay. This is what I say, asylum. And go, no more, Jack. You keep your butt over there for 7 years or so. Not getting in here. So word has obviously gone out around the world. Homeland Security Secretary Kristen Noem, you probably have come across this campaign, her campaign to get the message out that, hey, you are not coming over here. And if you are in this country illegally, you know what? You best self-deport, because one way or another, we're going to get you and you're going to be gone. There is no doubt that the world knows that Donald Trump means business. That makes you safer every single day. But here's the bigger picture as it applies to you and your family. When you take a look at just how many border crossers have made it into the United States through a port of entry. And it just is an unbelievable number that the answer is only 9. That's right. It's only Nueve SA. And the reason for that, even the ones that have gotten across, you had a handful that were in like severe medical situations that needed emergency care right away. And most of the others were actually coming over to testify in legal cases. And so the administration viewed it as a kind of like a necessary evil benefit to process them and let them in to testify in cases, against other people. So the net decline in illegal immigration into this country since Donald Trump once again became president of the United States is over 99%. The net number all in is over 99%. That's a win. And to put what's been accomplished here in perspective, you consider this. During the same window of time last year, we averaged nearly 2 illegal immigrants entering this country per minute. Nearly 2 that were being let in per minute. If you take a look at the number of illegal immigrants that were processed and allowed into this country, under Biden, you had more being let into this country every 5 minutes, 24 hours a day, as have entered the United States in the first 100 days with the Trump administration. So from the reinstallation of President Trump's immigration policies, from the first term led by Remain in Mexico, to the Lincoln Riley Act, signed the first law by Trump as he was back in office, nowhere has the administration had more success more quickly than on illegal immigration. And about that, you start taking a look at so much of what is being accomplished here of late. You've probably heard, you probably have seen that the raids are starting to get bigger. And speaking of illegal immigration, you had a tidal wave that hit Florida last week. And this wasn't one that happened to be influenced by the moon. While ICE conducted an unprecedented raid in Colorado Springs, you saw that happen over the weekend. In the case of Florida's tidal wave, what we saw is actually what happens when you have a president that is bent on detaining and deporting criminal illegal immigrants and a state that cooperates. So the Operation Tidal Wave, I'm sure you heard about this. I'm sure you came across a little bit of this, but I want to walk you through this a little bit because it's actually a roadmap for the entire country and certainly every single red state. So over the past week, you had about 800 illegal immigrants, criminal illegal immigrants, meaning people that committed more crimes once they were over here, that were detained by ICE across the state of Florida with the assistance of everybody from the Florida Highway Patrol to local law enforcement agencies. They got everybody on board. And it was a big key for success in an operation that literally took down not just illegal immigrants or criminals, but you had killers, people that were convicted of killing and murdering people in their home countries of Russia, Colombia, Venezuela, among others, that were just roaming the streets in Florida. It was just Tuesday in Florida. Now, Governor DeSantis in February said, you know what? He took a look at Trump's policies and he said, we got to do something to make sure that every single law enforcement agency in the state is on board with ICE. We got to make sure that everybody is pulling in the same direction so that every opportunity is utilized to get these illegal immigrants, to get these criminal illegal immigrants out of the state, to get them out of this country. I want to tell you exactly how that came into play and exactly what needs to happen in your state. That's next. I'm Brian Mudd, in for the Great One.
Mudd Levin.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
Did in 3 weeks what Joe Biden didn't do in 4 years. And that bipartisan border bill, look, I respect Senator Langford. He called me, walked through that bill with me. He asked me to support it. I said no. I'm not okay with 4,000 or 5,000 illegal aliens a day crossing this border as being normal. I don't want that in statute. I'm not okay with a bill that doesn't address sex trafficking of women and children. And right now, you look at the numbers, what President Trump has did, we went from an average at the highs of 10 to 11,000 a day under Biden to 200.
You talk about somebody who kicks butt, takes names. Borders are Tom Homan. I mentioned that Trump, he spent his 4 years out of office just planning for what he would do as soon as he would get back into office, which has resulted in the most productive 100 days that we've seen of any president since World War II. Literally Trump times 3 compared to his first term in office. That man, Tom Homan, I remember talking to him not 4 months after the Trump administration was out and he had Biden in and the borders were open. And I mean, he was done. He was fit to be tied at that point. I mean, he was just like, the dog at the gate, like, let me at him kind of thing. And that's all he was doing, too, was planning over the 4 years for what he would do as borders are once he got back in. And man, the job that they continue to do. So I was talking about the largest operation that's been carried out by ICE to date, the most successful operation. And there have been a bunch. What happened in Colorado Springs over the weekend, the greater than 100 criminal illegal immigrants taken down there, huge. But the nearly 800 that were taken down, including murderers from Russia to Venezuela and places in between in Florida last week, was what happens when you have a state that is completely on board and make sure that law enforcement agencies at all levels are too. So in February, once DeSantis saw exactly how the Trump administration was going to carry out its deportation plans, how ICE was going to go about its business, he said, hey, we need to pass a new law in the state of Florida that does 2 things. ICE has what they call a 287G program. What this program is, it allows for ICE agents, and they can become folks that are already working in a local law enforcement agency that are basically deputized on behalf of ICE. But you have an ICE presence in that law enforcement agency. That can happen. In the case of Florida, we did it at the county level. So every sheriff's office has to have ICE assistance within it. But then also that every single law enforcement agency, even at the smallest municipality within the state, must work with ICE the moment that they come into their territory. We passed that law, and that's what led to the largest operation to date. It's something that can be replicated in every single state. It's something that should happen in every single state. We'll keep talking about the receipts, and I'll take some of your calls next.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
The Mark Levin Show, the pool feed for the conservative media. Dive in now. 877-381-3811.
Lastly, and most importantly, if confirmed, I will fight every day to restore confidence and integrity to the Department of Justice and each of its components. The partisanship, the weaponization will be gone. America will have one tier of justice for all. In all this work, I'll collaborate closely with this committee. I will work with all of you, as I have committed to do when I met with almost all of you. And I will partner not only with the federal agencies, but with the state and local officials throughout our great country.
Attorney General Pam Bondi, as we take a look at the president's first 100 days, the historic 100 days, the most amount of executive activity that's been accomplished since World War II, and an incredible record of success that has happened already, especially on the border, illegal immigration, and safety generally, but also the economy that the president still isn't getting proper credit for. But I know we're nervous about the tariffs and the trade, and I hear the Godless Souls and Slanderous news videos say store shelves are going to be empty, and hang on. Hey, Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin, who is in the Holy Land. Look forward to everything he has to say when he gets back. Now, I am available at Brian Mudd Radio socially. Also, check out the Brian Mudd Show podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. It is always an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. And as I always say, there are 2 sides to stories and 1 side of facts. And facts happen to be that you are far safer. You're far better off than you were 100 days ago in just about every way. But without a doubt, you take a look at the decline in illegal immigration. You take a look at what's happened with criminal illegal immigrants. It has been something that has truly been historic. I'm going to break down the net decline in illegal immigrants under Trump. I was doing some work. I wanted to make sure I had all the up-to-date information for you today on this. And, I've given you some of the overview. During Trump's first 100 days, you take a look at the level of activity. ICE arrests of illegal immigrants are up greater than 6-fold over the Biden administration. That in the first 50 days under Trump, ICE had detained about as many illegal immigrants as had happened under the Biden administration all of the prior year, with a massive increase in detention of criminal illegal immigrants specifically, and an even bigger increase in the arrest of terrorist gang members. At the same time that we did not have people even attempting to come into this country anymore, where you see declines in attempted illegal activity by anywhere from 95 to 99%. Huge percentages, but there are also some really huge numbers that are behind those percentages as well. So I'm going to break out what that looks like for you as well. So you can really, it's not just like, hey, these are some massive percentages on small numbers. No, they're massive percentages on some very large numbers. This has been hugely impactful. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, let's go to John in Staten Island. John, welcome to the show.
Hello, sir. I've been waiting a while for this, but it's well worth it. I was calling up about the 100 days and the good things that Trump's doing.
Yeah, what do you think of Trump's first 100 days?
I think Trump's 100 days is unbelievable. He's going to blow Ronald Reagan right out of the water as being the greatest president the United States ever had. And I do believe that bullet was moved by God. Because Donald Trump, number one with the tariffs, which people just don't understand. I had a business where I was making a product that I had spent hundreds of thousands of my own dollars to bring to market. And all it took was one company in China to steal my intellectual property, start manufacturing it where it was costing me $2.90 a fitting. They were doing it for 15 cents because they were using Uyghurs. I had no recourse in China. Now they were selling my products in all of Europe, and whenever I sold my $2.90 fitting in England or France or Germany, I had to pay, people who bought it had to pay 45% more for it, because of the tariffs that we have. But when they get it from China, there are no tariffs. So the Chinese get all these lucrative deals. So what is everybody doing? They take their companies, they go to China, and they ship it around the world for free. So people don't see that. They don't understand that not only what Trump did was Trump made it possible for me to sell my product in Europe without paying a 50% tax on it. Also, I'm a survivor. My brother was murdered, not by an illegal alien, but he was murdered. I think that anyone who's got a problem with shipping these people out of this country, whether they're 3 years old or they're 50 years old, you should know what it's like to have a family member murdered because the president and the Democratic Party wanted to bring in new voters, because the African American is waking up. They're finally learning that the Democratic Party is and has always been the party of slavery. And the blacks felt compelled to vote for them. And now, through education and a conservative media, they're opening their eyes.
John, I'm glad you hung in there for as long as you did. Great call. I mean, just phenomenal points, and may God bless you and your family. I'm so sorry to hear about your brother, but I mean, what you're talking about, next level on the trade in tariff situation, and could not be more right when it comes to the cost, the criminal aspects of illegal immigration. When you take a look at the number of criminals, I'm going to get to the number of criminal illegal immigrants here in just a few that have been removed. I mean, people know some of the names, like a Lincoln Riley or a Rachel Morin, but there are so many more stories, so many more victims than people ever know. And by the way, a lot of them had, same as you have a lot of gang violence, right? So, a lot of that never even really makes news because, it's the gang on gang stuff they know. You have actually some of the biggest victims, a lot of these illegal immigrant communities, because you have the trafficking that takes place. You have heinous crimes that are constantly taking place within them because they know that they're not going to often speak up or seek the help of law enforcement or anything else because, hey, they have a lot to lose because they are not here illegally either. So even when you have the left that tries to play the compassionate card, that is a false narrative. That is a dishonest thing as well. What you mentioned on trade is so instructive in so many different ways as well. There are a couple of different things here. A lot of people are like, oh, what difference does it make if there's a trade deficit? And by the way, the trade deficit for the United States last year was $1 trillion. And again, in the grand scheme of just kind of like remarkable things that exist in this country that we allow to persist. Here we are, the largest economy in the world. We are the single best trade partner that any country could possibly have. We are the second largest manufacturer of goods in the world. We have the largest trade deficit in the world. Think about that for a moment. We are the largest economy, second largest manufacturer of stuff, and yet we have the largest trade deficit in the world. And that's all because of what Trump has talked about for 40 years. We make bad trade deals. And without getting into a ton of wonky stuff right now, what I'll say on that piece, remember back during Trump's first term, oh my God, oh, the tariffs, oh, look what he's doing with Mexico and Canada, oh, look at China, you're not even going to be able to afford a fridge anymore, you won't be able to put a microwave in your home, there's tariffs. What happened? What happened with the inflation rate? Is near non-existent, right? What happened with the economy? The best it's ever been. We had the best economy, we had near non-existent inflation, and Trump threw tariffs on. Worked out so well that Biden didn't even get rid of them. What happened with Canada and Mexico? We worked out the USMCA. Word is, we probably have a trade deal in hand with India right now. It's just going through the formal approval process. I may have an opportunity to get to that today. If not, I can get a little bit more into that. I'll be with you Thursday and Friday as well. And I'll be happy to get into some of these trade deals, what it really means to you, because I think at a certain level, it's just like, well, there's a deal here, maybe a deal. Now, I mean, there really are dollars and cents and things that matter to you. India matters. Like you hear, hey, we're nailing down a deal with India right now. I mean, that's a really big deal because that happens to be not only one of our top 10 trading partners, it is our fastest growing trading partner. It's actually where Apple's now getting ready to manufacture all their iPhones. They've pretty much moved all production out of China for iPhones and into India. So getting that done is really important anyway, and then more so than it's ever been going forward. And there's just so much here so that when you hear the fear mongers, oh, the tariffs and everything, trust the process. They were wrong the first time around. I guarantee you they're going to be wrong this time around. And you're still going to be able to go to the store and find stuff on shelves next week, too. Let's go to Chris in Virginia. Chris, welcome to the show.
It's an honor, sir. Thank you. I'm calling from the front line of the heartland. While I'm on hold, you had to go and bring Tom Homan on. And he has been to my house. He has been to my home, and he is he is a treasure to our country. But I was practically a single issue voter, and that was border security. And that single line that Trump gave during his not State of the Union about all we needed was a new president. I literally teared up during that speech. That was magnificent. Without that, it's kind of like the Second Amendment protects the First. Without border security, we have no country. I've got an idea, if I may, on how to perhaps maybe quell the outrage from the left about this due process screeching and ranting and raving. Why don't we implement the exact same process that they gave them on the way in? What we do is we round them all up, we deport every one of them, and we give them a notice to appear via Skype in about 12 years.
Whenever the court date comes up anyway. It probably is about 12. Last I heard it was 7. But I'll be 12. Yeah, Chris, I appreciate it. And, there are so many different pieces that go into this. And when you start taking a look at the numbers that came in, you're talking about at the rate that even the Trump administration is able to deport right now, we're not going to be able to get there. That's one of the things that we have to work through. And one of the single most important things going forward is going to be the BBB. You down with the BBB? Or is it the BBD? Because I heard Trump today in particular starting to refer to it as the big, beautiful deal. It's the new big, beautiful deal. It's going to be the great new deal, but big, beautiful deal. And it'll be much less communistic and socialist than the great new deal. So anyway, but the BBB is going to be the key to absolutely everything going forward. And so I will end up diving into that. But I'm going to pick up a little bit on these illegal immigrant numbers and what has happened here. And then also what needs to happen, kind of your point to make the rest of the process, the progress that needs to be made. So if you take a look at how many illegal entrants were either allowed into the country under the Biden administration or were gotaways, I ran just the 100 days, same 100 days last year. You go like January 20th of last year, 100 days into the end of April. And what you see is that the numbers were almost identical. They were almost identical. So I'll bring that to you. I'll start breaking this down and give you an idea of where we were, where we are today, and where we need to get to. That's coming up next. I'm Brian Mudd, in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
He is the most consequential American leader of the 21st century, and that's an understatement. President Trump has, here's a list: removed men from women's sports, ended DEI in the federal government and the U.S. military, expanded oil and gas extraction to lower prices, taken steps to end unfair trade practices, secured trillions of dollars in new investments in American manufacturing, deported criminal illegal aliens, stood up for religious liberty and rooted out anti-Christian bias, combated virulent anti-Semitism on college campuses. The list goes on and on and on. That's just barely scratching the surface. That's in 100 days. We're just getting started.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, everybody. And yeah, it is just scratching the surface, and he is just getting started. And that is part of the bigger thing. The president, he has rallied, he has partied, he's done his dance. That is has all taken place in Warren, Michigan. And as we take a look at the president's first 100 days and just how consequential it has been, talking about the border in particular, because nowhere have we seen so much success so quickly as on the border. And I wanted to bring some numbers to you. So if you take a look at a year ago, the same window of time, how many approximate border crossers did we have? The people that would walk up to the southern border, go to a border patrol agent and say, hey, essay, this where I say asylum? And a border patrol agent that had, pretty much the life beaten out of them by the Biden administration and go, yeah, here's a goodie bag. Where do you want to go? 5-star in Manhattan? Gotcha. We'll get you covered. 184,000 border crossers were processed and allowed into the interior over the same 100 days a year ago. At the same time, how many gotaways were there? The people that just evaded Border Patrol altogether and got into 180,000. Okay, so during the same 100 days last year, you had 364 illegal immigrants, about half and half. Half that were processed, about half that were criminal illegal immigrants by any definition from the moment they entered this country, or an average of over 3,640 per day. Okay, as for the deportations during the same time, they totaled approximately 89,000 or 890 per day. But that actually isn't entirely accurate, because one of the big games the Biden administration played, if they actually ever did turn somebody back at the border, and they didn't do many, but when they did, they called that a deportation. No, you were just doing your damn job. But anyway, in terms of the number of people who are actually removed from the interior, they only took away 12,900 or 129 per day. All right, so I want you to think about this for a moment. Means on average, same window of time a year ago, you had over 3,500 net illegal immigrants added to the United States every day. I'll tell you what's been going on over the most recent 100 days next. Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Today officially marks 100 days of promises made and promises kept by President Trump. This has truly been the most historic start to a presidency in American history. After building the greatest economy in the world in his first term as president, President Trump is in the process of doing that all over again. The American people trust in President Trump. Since his first day in office, President Trump has focused on defeating the Biden inflation crisis, bringing down the cost of living, and making the United States the best place in the world to do business, invest, create jobs, and innovate. And President Trump's efforts are working.
You know, just as impressive as the difference between Dementia Man and President Trump happens to be, if you take a look at the change, the difference between Green Jean-Pierre and Caroline Levitt, every bit as impressive in its own way. Like the upgrade from Joe to Trump. There are so many similarities there in a slightly different way, in a non-dementia riddled way between KJP and Caroline Levitt, who's just been absolutely spectacular. And as we are celebrating President Trump's first 100 days, and he has celebrated, he had his rally in Warren, Michigan, and we are taking a look at the receipts. He is talking about the golden age just beginning. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin. Always an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. And nowhere have we seen the progress that's been made as significant as in border-related areas and anything to do with illegal immigration. Although, again, the economy, Trump getting his lowest scores on the economy, that's nonsense. Again, you're paying 52 cents less for a gallon of gas compared to a year ago today. The inflation rate is 0.6%. It went from 3% to 2.4% since he became president of the United States. It's the lowest it's been in over 4 years since he was just 2 months removed from the presidency. So enough with the nonsense already. Now, when you take a look at the illegal immigration scene, I left off telling you about where we were 100 days ago with the Biden administration and how if you net out the whole deal, about half of the illegal immigrants that were getting through were the border crossers that would saunter up to the border patrol folks and say, hey, say this what I say, asylum. And the other half were gotaways, people that were criminal illegal immigrants from the moment, by any definition, that they walked into this country. Now, when you take a look at the net number of all that, even for the people that were removed from the interior of this country, we were adding a year ago today an average of over 3,500 plus illegal immigrants, over half of those that were criminal illegal immigrants. Think about that. We were adding over 1,750 criminals to our society. And by the way, a lot of those other border crossers that were granted the asylum, are freaking criminals too. But we know at a minimum over 1,750 criminals that were illegals were being let into this country every single day net. Where are we today? Well, from January 20th of this year until today, the number of border crossers that were processed and allowed into the interior, 9. Not just nueve, SA. all with extenuating circumstances. And as for the gotaways, how many managed to evade Border Patrol? Managed to evade at 3,800, approximately 3,800. All right. So we've had 3,809 illegal immigrants entering the country, or 38 per day, since Trump became president of the United States. As for deportations, during President Trump's first 100 days, they totaled an approximate 139,000, or just under 1,400 a day, with an estimated 30,000 interior removals, or about 300 per day. Okay, so when you put the whole ball of wax together, here's what it looks like. A year ago at this point, when you had the Biden administration busy letting a net over 3,500 illegal immigrants in, half of which were criminals from the jump. You compare that to where we are today, where a net 262 illegal immigrants are being removed per day. The number of comers versus the number of goers. And then you start thinking about everything that has been done by the left to try to stop the process, all the legal intervention, all the court stays, all the nonsense, and just imagine where we would be. But that is how much better off we are today. And of those 262 illegal immigrants per day that are being removed, they're basically all criminal illegal immigrants. So that's how many criminals per day are being removed from our society. It is a remarkable change. And of course, the other wild card in this conversation, the impact of self-deportations, which the administration has been encouraging through that Biden administration CBP1 app, that marketing campaign led by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. We know there have been at least 5,000 or another 50 plus per day people that have been self-deporting. That's how many people use the app to self-deport so far that we know of. The actual totals of people that just like, I'm gone, probably a lot higher. So anyway, this is the theme in President Trump's next 100 days and for the duration of this administration. The numbers are likely only going to continue to climb from these levels as legal challenges are overcome and also as larger scale ICE operations. Like I discussed last hour, the Operation Tidal Wave that took down about 800 in one fell swoop in Florida. This weekend's raid in Colorado Springs, where they nabbed over 100 just like that, are taking place. You're seeing this ramp up progressively, even in the face of all this nonsense in the courtrooms on the left. And as soon as the Supreme Court does its damn job and puts an end to all that nonsense, you're really going to see these numbers pick up. And then when you start talking about the big B, the BBB or the BBD, whatever Trump wants to call it these days, that will drive the rest of it home. As we take a look at the 100 days, what Trump has already put out is a note that it's about promises made and promises kept. He's talking about that at his rally. The administration marked his first 100 days with a fact sheet today of border receipts specifically, talking about everything that has been done in so many historic ways. And so on the promises made and promises kept note, Trump said the first promise that he made, we will close the border. We will stop the invasion of illegals into our country. And the promise kept, well, through a series of day one executive orders, the president did just that, right? As we've been talking about. Total illegal immigrants attempting to enter the United States, down 95%. Total illegal entrants into the United States, down by over 99%. The next promise made, he said, we will expel every single illegal alien gang member and migrant criminal operating on American soil and remove the savage gang Tren de Aragua from the United States. The promise being kept includes President Trump's day one executive order designating Tren de Aragua, MS-13, other transnational gangs, the bad hombres, all the bad hombres of the world as foreign terrorist organizations, followed by the arrest and detention of over 150,000 criminal illegal aliens to date, including approximately 1,000 who are members of foreign terrorist gangs. You start taking a look at this, and I was just talking about the volume of criminals that are being allowed into this country and the removals that are actually taking place. Well, obviously, we have far more that are still detained that have yet to be removed, that are going through their due process, because we've got to do due process for criminal, terrorists, illegal immigrants in the minds of some, which is BS, but for another time. Now, the next promise made, Trump administration said on day one, we will begin the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. He said the promise kept includes the 600% plus increase in ICE raids and detentions and the over 139,000 deportations that I was talking about. Again, a number that would be far greater without the legal intervention by the left. Next promise made, Trump said, I will immediately end the Biden border nightmare that traffickers are using to exploit vulnerable women and children. Because, you know, the left cares about them so much, right? The administration's claim of the promise being kept includes a record low number of attempted border crossings by women and unaccompanied minors. Record low numbers. Definitely nowhere near the number of people that are being victimized. The next promise being made, the border itself. Trump said, under my leadership, we'll seal it up and expand that wall until we have total control. Well, that promise being kept, it includes the immediate resumption of construction of the southern border wall that did start right away, with over 85 new miles that are either under construction or are in the planning phase right now to get that whole thing going again. Remember, the day one action by Biden, he spent billions of dollars, like $4.5 billion to stop construction of the wall. And so ramping that whole thing up and everything else. And then that is something else that we need, the BBB. You down with the BBB? You need to be. Or the BBD, because that's where a lot of the funding is going to come from to drive home the completion of the border wall. Something that if Trump had won re-election, if Trump had remained as president following 2020, it would have been done by the end of 2021 with the pace that they were on at that point. Trump's next promise, ending gotaways. The promise being kept, as I mentioned, a decline from over 800 gotaways per day under the Biden administration to only 38 per day most recently. Trump's next promise made, I will ban all welfare and federal benefits for illegals, and then they won't come. Can I get an amen on that one? The promise being kept included an immediate executive order banning those lacking legal access to this country from having any legal access to federal government assistance programs, and even clawing back tens of millions of dollars from government assistance programs that have been authorized by the Biden administration, the 11th hour, trying to give away all the freebies to all the illegals. And there's still a lot more to go as President Trump has his facts in order about his accomplishments, the promises made, the promises being kept on the border. Be right back with the rest of it. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk.
Yeah, isn't that the case? J.D. Vance, everybody, as we take a look at President Trump's first 100 days of the second term and just how incredibly consequential it has been. Again, this has not been Trump 2.0. This has been Trump 3.0, because he has literally moved at 3 times the pace that he did during his first term, during his first administration. It's been incredible to see. And one of the things that we've been going through, the receipts. And as we take a look at what the administration put out today, promises made and promises kept, because nowhere have we seen more progress made than in border-related matters. It's incredible when you really take a look at the scorecard, when you take a look at the fact sheet for what's happened here. And the next promise, as we go through the promises made and the promises that have been kept, you had the president say, I will end catch and release. Well, the promise kept and includes a 99.9% decrease in catch and releases. 99.9. Again, a total of only 9 that have actually occurred under the Trump administration thus far. And again, all for extenuating circumstances like immediate medical emergencies and for people who were called to testify in criminal cases. Trump's next outline promise that was made, he said, my administration will deliver justice for every family whose loved one has been stolen from them by migrant crime. This includes Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Nungary, Caleb Hamilton, and every other precious American soul that we have lost to these animals. Their memories will live in their hearts forever, in our hearts forever, and we will never, ever forget them. Well, the promise being kept, the Lincoln Riley Act, the very first bill signed into law by President Trump during the very first week of his administration. You take a look at what the priorities have been out of the gate. Where can we make the biggest impact, the quickest? Without a doubt, this has been it. Trump's next border promise made, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. He said, think of that, 1798. This was put there way back when. A lot of the people in the media, of course, freaked out about that. He said, that's a long time ago, right? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil? Well, the promise was kept on March 15th when the president invoked the Alien Enemies Act to deport designated terrorists to El Salvador. The promises made, the promises kept every step of the way. We're still not through the fact sheet, by the way. There's so much here. And by the way, would like to hear from you as well, your thoughts on President Trump's first 100 days. Be right back. Brian Mudd in for the great one, Mark Levin.
In a world of pathetic liberal potholes, he's a truck full of hot constitutional asphalt. Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill.
Yeah, as we take a look at Trump's first 100 days, his promises made, his promises kept. Brian Mudd here with you in for the great one, Mark Levin. And we've had so much to work through because there's been so much that's been accomplished in the president's first 100 days. And I've just been walking through a fact sheet just on the border that the Trump team put out today. And as the Trump team ended up mentioning, you have so many different pieces of the border puzzle that have come together for the level of success that they have had to this point, including the next promise made by the Trump team, that you would have what they called Kamala's app for illegals that would be shut down immediately within 24 hours. That was the CBP One app, the app that had been used when you had the Biden administration going, oh, man, you know what? It looks like the optics of this are bad. You know, like people can actually see the caravans at the border and how we're just kind of like letting them in. Probably not good anymore. So we need a new way so people don't actually see all of the illegal immigrants that are being moved into their communities. You know, unless it's like Springfield or something, in which case, you know, we're just going to take over the whole communities, right? By the way, I wonder how the animals are doing in Springfield these days. Anyway, so what the Trump team ended up doing is, they shut down the CBP1 app immediately. But the next thing they ended up doing was ramping up the app for outboard orders. So you ended up having the Trump administration up the ante when the Department of Homeland Security actually ended up using the app to issue a warning to the approximately 1 million people who they had allowed, the Biden administration allowed in with the app. Every one of them got a message that they needed to self-deport. And what the app is actually used for now, those that do self-report. And we haven't gotten an update on this in a while, but we do know that pretty quickly over 5,000 people had used the app to self-deport back out of the United States. So it actually was not only a promise made that was kept, but it was something that they've actually ended up doing more with. And as you've seen, the Justice Department talk about holding all federal aid and sanctuary jurisdictions accountable. We've now seen the Justice Department begin to move on this too, as we've recently seen with action taken against judges in New Mexico, in Wisconsin. And all of this, as we take a look at this puzzle come together, it's just the beginning, which is really a broader point. And it's such a bigger thing because, again, it's only been 100 days. That's barely more than a quarter of Trump's first year. And so this really is just the beginning. Are you tired of winning? And the tariffs, they might make you nervous. You actually haven't paid more for anything yet. I know some people want, I have. No, you have not. You actually still have not paid. We have inventories of things. In fact, this just in, we actually have more inventories and more stuff at this point this year right now than we did this time last year right now. So again, those store shelves are going to have stuff on them next week. But just as President Trump, and by the way, but the stock market, you know, the S&P 500 with today's trading just put in the best rally it has since last November after Trump's win. Longest consecutive winning streak that we've had. So, but every time there's but there's more to the story. Just as President Trump delivered the best economy our country had ever seen preceding the pandemic, what exactly do you expect to see once Trump's done negotiating trade deals around the world? Once he has the BBB in hand from Congress, once he signs that into law. The left was wrong about Trump's tariffs the first time around. The left was wrong about Trump's trade deals the first time around. They're going to be wrong about how this stuff plays out this time around. And even aside from being able to analytically kind of walk through this stuff with you, you get down to brass tacks. Do you really think that Donald Trump would make his legacy sinking the U.S. economy? Of all the things that Donald Trump would, what he's going to do is sink the U.S. economy. So trust the process. By the way, light a fire under your congressional reps to get their act together on passing Trump's agenda with the BBB. Because I trust Congress far less to get their job done than I do Trump to get his done. Because if we end up getting that BBB, we get the rest of these pieces coming together and the trade deals are already getting done, we are going to truly be able to make America great again. There is a lot that you can feel good about here. But it does not seem like Doug in Minneapolis thinks that's the case. Doug evidently does not think that Trump has been doing anything that's all that good. Welcome to the show.
Well, I did not say that. And thank you for having me on your show.
You bet.
I think you need to give credit where credit's due. President Trump made 3 appointments to his cabinet that were great. Pam Bondi, Tom Homan, and Marco Rubio. And those three, if it weren't for those three, this administration would be on the ropes. You're right, totally right about illegal immigration, but a lot of that is the way the Trump policies have been administered by Tom Homan and Pam Bondi. If any lesser person would be Secretary of State besides Marco Rubio.
I'm missing your point here. So what's the problem? That Trump has surrounded himself with good people and that he's having success because of that?
Let's take you
if not for, I mean, what you literally just said, and I would love to know any CEO, any executive of any large enterprise that if they do not have good people around them would be able to have a lot of success to significance. So, I mean, you're like, if not for the great people that he surrounded himself with, it wouldn't be happening. Well, yeah, that's true everywhere. I mean, this just in. Steve Jobs was brilliant, but if he didn't have somebody to manufacture his products, got to be SOL. He wouldn't be able to sit in his garage and manufacture all those things. So what is your point in mentioning, yeah, he has some great people that he identified. They're doing a good job. Where's the issue?
Please let me speak. Are you afraid to let me speak?
Okay, you're going to get one last chance to get to your point about how it is a problem that he has good people that are doing good things. So where has he failed? Why is his administration only successful because of 3 cabinet appointments? And it would be on thin ice if not for those cabinet appointments. You're saying he screwed up everywhere else? Get to it.
The demeanor to be president of the United States. Let's take DOGE, for example. A very needed thing. The policies are good. But to stand up there gleefully and run a chainsaw and be gleeful about thousands of people losing their jobs is not a president of the United States.
Oh, so now as a taxpayer, we are supposed to feel bad if somebody loses his job because it's a federal job. You know, nobody gets a rip when every single day in this country, you have thousands of people, just a normal day, that lose their job in the private sector. They don't make news stories. Nobody cares other than their own families. But now, by God, it's a federal employee and, woe is them. And it's a bad thing.
Gleefully.
Heck yeah, Doug. I gleefully say we have been wasting tons of money on tons of government employees that we do not need with a bloated federal government that we cannot afford. It's not just Trump that's gleeful. I am gleeful all over the place about that. It's not because I wish people poorly. I'm sure there are a lot of great people that have lost their jobs. But if you're not needed, if we can't afford you, then why is that a problem?
That's why I said the policy of DOGE was okay, but the administration of it was too much.
Too much because we're saving money because the average federal taxpayer saving as of right now $993.79. That's a bad thing. The average taxpayer saving $1,000 right now for what DOGE has done is a bad thing because the administration was happy that they ended up accomplishing what they were doing, which included some people that lost their jobs, some of which might have actually been worth a damn, many of which I guarantee you are not.
Again, you're afraid to let me talk. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid at all. You're very emotional in your whole thing. The real world doesn't work like the government, Jack. That's the bottom line here. And it's unfortunate if somebody has feelings that we're happy that we're doing the right thing. These people never should have had jobs in the first place. That's the bigger point here. So yeah, damn straight happy that we are cutting the federal government, these bloated agencies. And no, it's not about wishing people poorly. It's about doing the right thing for all Americans, not at the expense of the people who are sitting there sucking on the government teat. Let's go to Tom. Let's go to Tom in Southern California. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
The question I have, to tell you the truth, I'm a businessman, and I'm a father and grandfather, and the American dream for my kids, without me, is almost dead. They can't afford $500,000 houses. They can't afford $30,000 cars. they can't afford $5 a gallon gasoline. I don't know how Trump, and I'm a Trump supporter, but I don't know what he does for my kids.
Well, and so herein lies, right? I mean, and this is also where this is a much bigger structural problem. What you ended up having with the runaway inflation that we ended up experiencing during the Biden years, where we had the worst run of inflation since the Carter years, is that it takes an awful long time, because even as we talk about, hey, an inflation rate right now is the lowest it's been in 4 years. Yeah, it is still, even right now, 2.4% higher than it was a year ago, which means that, for so many people, things have just continued to become that much less affordable. The inflation rate when Donald Trump left as president of the United States was 1.3%. So there are a couple different things that have to happen structurally, and Trump did it his first time around. The first thing is, yeah, you do need to work on bringing down the overall inflation rate. And we've already seen that start to happen. One of the single biggest ways, play that clip of the national energy emergency, gas being 52 cents cheaper than a year ago. The energy adds to inflation in everything when prices are higher. Absolutely everything in society. And so doing the things that you can do to control the things that you can control is part of it. And I know a lot of people take a look at this tariff stuff and go, oh, is this just going to be more inflation? But actually, there are a couple of different things that can come into play. There actually are ways in which it could end up potentially saving us money while bringing down inflation over the longer run. But more importantly, as you talk about your kids, if we can have more good paying jobs within the United States, something he was very successful at doing his first time around, then it provides opportunity, because what you have to do is create more opportunity and more money within that opportunity within the private sector within the United States, which, again, is something structurally that we have seen weaken and weaken for decades with the way that we've handled our trade. And so it is challenging. It's not going to be an easy thing to accomplish. But if you talk about, I don't know he's going to do it, well, he did it his first time around. It's just that it's that much more of a challenge because Biden ended up screwing things up to the extent that he did for the better part of 4 years. Let's go to David in Texas. David, welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Good to have you.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about is non-domicile CDL drivers that we got out here. I'm a truck driver, and now that Trump signed that order saying that you have to read, write, and speak English, maybe we'll stop having all these major accidents with trucks and cars and stuff, because if you go back and look at all the wrecks that's been killing people, it's been the ones with non-domicile CDLs. It's been the drivers of the trucks.
So legal truck drivers have been the problem.
And they're taking the cheap freight, making freight cheap to where, the American truck drivers can't even haul anything and make a living.
Yeah, and so I appreciate the call. And so part of what we're taking a look at here, and the timing of this order, I think was interesting too. So we do know that we are going to have fewer shipments from China that are coming in. We have heard that, hey, things are going to be slower at the port coming up here in the next little bit. Well, you're not going to need as many truck drivers. And rather than losing good truck drivers such as yourself, the ones that have been going about doing things the wrong way, that's ultimately where this is going to hit. He was looking at being able to navigate a way to protect the good truck drivers while he knew that the impact of his trade deals were about to hit. So it was actually a tactical move. Appreciate the call. Be right back. Brian Mudd in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
The tax bill is going much better than I would have thought when I took office on January 28th, and that's through President Trump's leadership. That Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune are united, and the tax bill is moving forward. It is going to give permanence to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act, which will, back to the question on certainty, it will give American business certainty, it will give American people certainty, and then President Trump is also adding the things for working Americans, that is talked about earlier, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, making auto payments deductible. So that will substantially address the affordability crisis.
Yeah, so Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and this is good news. The tax bill going better than he would have imagined. And so this is the next big thing, is that the BBB is the key for the next 100 days. For everything, as we take a look, and we have all throughout the course of the show, of the success of the first 100 days, the key to the Trump presidency is the next 100 days, and specifically the BBB. You got to be down with the BBB or the BBD if Trump has kind of permanently renamed it. Yeah, a couple times today I heard him say the big, beautiful New Deal. Actually, I guess it'd be like BBND. So, yes, keep the heat on your members of Congress. I'm not tired of winning. You shouldn't be either. Do not believe the nonsense on tariffs and trade. This will work out. Trust the process. And, I will trust the process myself and look forward to spending some more time with you on Thursday. God bless. Talk to you then. Brian Mudd in for Mark Levin.